Shalom, shalom. It is March the 5th, 2025. It is 10:48 a.m. As you all may be able to see the title is Obedience Isn't Easy. Obedience isn't easy. True obedience isn't easy. I'm not talking about following the laws of the Most High. You know what many people may consider to be the law of Moses, but it's actually the law of the Most High. Well, following his law is easy. Following the laws of the Most High is really easy. However, what separates the righteous from the unrighteous is determined by our willingness to obey any command or instruction from the Most High. Sometimes his instruction or his will can be a hard pill to swallow. And I know that don't sound logical for some of us. That may not sound right. Some people may argue with that statement that I just made. So what I would like to do is I like to look in scripture for some examples of how obedience isn't easy. However, it is necessary for those of us who seek oneness with the Most High Yah, right? So I'm going to start at Genesis. We're going to start at Genesis chapter 12, verses 1 through 4, and we're going to talk about Abram. And the Most High told Abram, "Get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred and from thy father's house, and unto a land that I will show you, and I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless you, and curse him that curseth you. And in you shall all families of the earth be blessed." So Abram departed, as the Most High had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him, which is his nephew. And Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. So I want y'all to think about that, right? I want us to really start to think about, when we're reading scripture, to really put ourselves in the shoes of that person. Or I want you all to really envision what that person is going through when they're being instructed to do something by the Most High. I want us to really get into that mindset of really digging deeper into it instead of just reading through it just to get to the next point, right? So let's take note that Abram was 75 years old. 75. Excuse me. Do you think he could have been used to his life that he was accustomed to at that point? 75 years old, right? Do you think at his age he saw himself starting over in a brand new country? At the age of 75, do you think that he foresaw himself moving from a country he had lived in for all of his life, around his family, around friends? The environment was something that he was familiar with. Do you think he saw himself at 75 years old going to a brand new country when he didn't even know where he was going? He didn't know how long it was going to take for him to get there. He didn't know what kind of obstacles he was going to face. He had absolutely no understanding of what he was walking into. Do you think that he saw that coming? Do you think his family thought he was crazy to just up and leave because the Most High instructed him to? Do you think people believed him when he said the Most High talked to him directly and instructed him to leave? Do you think his family actually believed what he told them? I'm pretty sure some of his family probably questioned it. Some of his family probably kicked against it. Some of his family probably tried to talk him out of it. Some of his family probably thought he was crazy. Let's also consider the fact that he was married. What do you think his wife was thinking? What do you think she was thinking? Because guess what? She wasn't young either. When I say she wasn't young, in our time, 75 is not considered young. But in their time, they was living past 150 years old. You know, they was living up to 200 years old, 300 years old, 800 years old, 700 years old back then. So 75 for them still is relatively early or young. But in our time, at the age of 75, can you imagine the Most High speaking to you and telling you to leave your country, leave your family, and go to a land that I'm going to show you? So when you leave, you don't even know where you're going. All you know is as you continue to go, eventually you're going to know when you have arrived. Can you imagine that? So do you think that that was easy for him to be obedient? Do you think that that was an easy decision? But we see that he decided to do it. Verse 4 tells us that Abram departed as the Most High had spoken unto him. But he did one thing that the Most High told him not to do, which was he took Lot, which was his nephew. Now, even though we know the story, we know that he took his wife, we know that he took the people within his household that was within his authority. But he also took his nephew. And we also know that him and his nephew had some issues. His nephew ran into a lot of issues, quite frankly. A lot of issues. So he didn't fully obey. He didn't fully obey because he didn't leave his nephew. However, his nephew could have been also counted as his next heir. This is something that I'm just throwing in here randomly. This wasn't even a part of the actual message. But either way, he took his nephew. So I'm going to try to stick to my plans to keep my time down. So in Genesis 19, we see that Lot was being rescued from a destruction within the city of Sodom and Gomorrah. And though he had a short notice to leave, he was noticed. He had been given the notice by the angels to prepare himself and his family and his kindred. Anybody that was with him, anybody that was under his authority, anything that belonged to him, the angels instructed him to prepare them so that they can leave. So they actually gave him time to prepare, right? We see this in Genesis 19. And in the process of Lot being instructed to do something, which was to flee the city because the city was going to be destroyed, what did Lot decide to do? Because it was a hard decision. It was hard. It was a choice he had to make that was challenging, right? Because being obedient isn't easy, people. Being obedient is not easy. In verses 16 through, through 22, we're going to read this real quickly. This is what Lot did. And while he lingered, talking about Lot, because the angels gave him time to go talk to his son-in-laws who wasn't in the house. He gave him time to pack up his things. He gave him time to get his children together. He gave them time. Thank you all for coming into the room. He gave them time to prepare. But Lot lingered. Why do you think Lot lingered? He lingered because he didn't really want to leave. He lingered because he didn't really want to see the city destroyed. He lingered because he didn't want to give up what he had already acquired there in the city. He did not want to go forth, right? So he lingered. The men, talking about the angels, laid hold upon his hand. He lingered so much that the angels had to grab his hand and lead him and his family out of the house and out of the city. That's how much he lingered, because he didn't want to be obedient. It's like he wanted to, but he didn't. He was hesitant, right? So dropping down to verse 7, because I done already told y'all about 16. And it came to pass when they had brought them forth abroad, that he, talking about Lot, escaped for thy life. That he said, escape for thy life. Look not behind thee, neither stay. Let me correct that. Let me go back, because I just said something that wasn't right. Verse 17, and it came to pass when they had brought them forth abroad, that he said, escape for thy life. Look not behind thee, neither stay thou in all the plain. Escape to the mountain, lest thou be consumed. This is what the angel is saying to Lot and his family. He's instructing them again on what to do. He's saying, go ahead and leave. Don't look behind you. And do not stay in the plain area. Go to the mountain, because you're going to be shielded from the destruction there. You're going to be protected in the mountain. And if you don't do these things, you just might be consumed. So Lot said unto them, oh no, not so, my masters. Behold, now thy servant hast found grace in thy sight, and thou hast magnified thy mercy, which thou hast showed unto me in saving my life. And I cannot escape to the mountain, lest some evil take me and I die. Behold now, this city is near to flee unto, and it is a little one. Oh, let me escape thither. Is it not a little one, and my soul shall live? And he said unto him, See, I have accepted thee concerning this thing also, that I will not overthrow this city, for the which thou hast spoken. Hast thee escaped thither? For I cannot, do anything till thou be come thither. So the angel is saying, I can't do my job. I can't do my job until you are safe. But here you have Lot still being hesitant. Not only is he being hesitant, but now he wants to negotiate. He wants to negotiate with the angels where he should go to for safety. The angels have already instructed him. And Lot is finding it hard. He's finding it hard to be obedient. Because obedience isn't easy, y'all. We think sometimes that walking with the Most High should be easy. But we can see plenty of examples in scripture where we're seeing people who are finding it either hard to be obedient, or they're being asked to do something that is very challenging. Something that a lot of us would not choose to do because of what is being asked of us, right? And so can you imagine Lot, after witnessing the angels blinding the city men, and knowing that even that wasn't enough to keep them from attempting to still have their way with the strange men or the angels in Lot's house, that he would still be hesitant to leave? Like, he saw the angels do some miracles. He saw the angels do some things that would cause you to not question their ability to destroy the city. You saw their ability. He saw their ability to have some power over the people, because the people wanted to do some things to these angels. And the angels was protected in Lot's house. Well, they ended up leaving out of Lot's house and being amongst the people, and the people couldn't see them. So Lot saw this miracle, so he had no place to really wonder or to question if these angels actually had the ability to do what they say they're going to do, right? But Lot still wanted to negotiate. He still wanted to be hesitant. And it's really something to know that we can actually witness miracles happening before our eyes, and yet we are still hesitant to heed to the instructions of the Most High. It is really something. So now we're going to go to Genesis chapter 22, when Abraham was instructed by the Most High to sacrifice his son that he loved as a burnt offering, and Abraham moved without hesitation. Abraham moved without hesitation to do so, all while believing that the Most High would provide him with a lamb to sacrifice. And what happened? Y'all all know the story when the Most High told Abraham to sacrifice Isaac, and he was going to sacrifice his son. As Abraham put Isaac on the altar and was about to carry out the burnt offering sacrifice, the Most High stopped him. He stopped him and indeed provided them with a lamb. It was a test for Abraham to see if his love for his son was more important than the faith he had in the Most High, to whom made it possible for Abraham to even have his son in the first place. Abraham passed the test, but do you think it was easy as it seemed? Even though we don't see Abraham struggling to make the decision to move forward with sacrificing Isaac, even though scripture does not paint the picture that Abraham was having a issue with following, the instructions of the Most High, do you think internally it wasn't some type of conflict? Do you think that internally there wasn't a thought in Abraham's brain that, am I making the right decision? Is this really what the Most High is asking me to do? Is this really going to pan out? We got to understand that we're talking about people, real people who endured these situations. And no matter what we may decide to do, we still always have some reservations about moving in whichever direction we may choose to go in, right? So I'm pretty sure Abraham had some thoughts somewhere in him about if he was doing the right thing or not. So much so that he believed that the Most High would provide him a lamb, even though the Most High told him to use his son. He still believed that the Most High was going to show up and substitute his son with an actual lamb. And the Most High did. But Abraham was placed in a situation where he had to choose to obey the Most High. And through his obedience, it could have cost his son's life. But we saw Abraham willing to do that, to be obedient, right? So obedience isn't easy. The Most High is going to ask us to do some things, and it's not always going to be easy. I've been telling you all this. The Most High requires some things of us. Sometimes it's a test to see if we're willing to follow him even when things are hard, even when things are tough, even when it requires us to be uncomfortable. He wants to know our heart, right? He wants to know where we stand. And sometimes the things that he have us doing is not a test. It's something that is actually given to us to help preserve our lives. But it's up to us. It's like we have the power of freedom. We have free will, right? We have free will. You can choose to listen or you can choose to not listen. It's really all up to us. So also, we can talk about Jonah in Nineveh. Jonah being instructed by the Most High to go to Nineveh, but Jonah did not want to go to Nineveh. Jonah chose to go and attempt to run away from the Most High in a completely different direction, in a completely different city, because he didn't want to hear the Most High. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine somebody being instructed by the Most High directly, and the Most High is telling them to do something, and because they don't want to heed to what the Most High is saying, because it goes against what they want to happen, they reject it and attempt to run away from the voice of the Most High, from the call of the Most High, from the instructions of the Most High, as if the Most High can't find you. You know, that wasn't even logical, right? That wasn't even logical. He literally thought he can run from the Most High. And so what happened with Jonah? Jonah ended up being swallowed by a great fish. And he was in the belly of that fish for 3 days and 3 nights. And if you read the story, you will see that it either seems as if Jonah died, or maybe he was at the brink of death and he started having dreams and visions or whatever. So I'm not sure if Jonah died or if he was just on the brink of death. But can you imagine being in the belly of a fish for 3 days and 3 nights? You don't know when it's day. You don't know when it's night. You're in the body or the fluids of the stomach, the acids. And he painted a pretty not broad, but a pretty good picture of what he was experiencing in this fish, right? So Jonah started to pray to the Most High. He started to pray to the Most High. See, his problem was never that he didn't believe that he heard from the Most High. That was never his problem. His problem was he didn't like what the Most High told him to do. Obedience isn't easy, people. He did not like what the Most High was instructing him to do. So now he finds himself in the belly of the fish, and now he's praying to the Most High. And then the Most High heard the prayer, and he called the fish to deliver Jonah up out of his body and onto dry land. And what did Jonah do then? Jonah heed to the word of the Most High. Even though Jonah didn't want to, he then decided to repent and to do what the Most High told him to do initially. So again, obedience isn't easy. It's not easy. Now don't mistaken obedience to when the Most High instruct us to do something with following his laws. As I said earlier, following his laws is easy. The only thing about following his laws that we say is hard is the fact that we don't know what his laws are. So we think that his laws are too hard to do because it's 600 and something of them. But if you actually read his laws, you will see it's literally a moral compass. It's instructions on how to live right with other people. It's instructions on how to have some type of good relationships with whomever you come across. Like, it's really not hard. It's not complicated at all. But people will make it seem like it's something that you can't do because it's so many of them. And some of the things is like, it's not even something you have to think about. It's just a way of being. It's just a way of being, right? So now we're going to move on. We're going to go to Matthew chapter 26, verses 38 through 44. And we can read where Yahushua was preparing himself for his crucifixion. Right after the Passover meal, we see Yahushua preparing himself for the crucifixion. And it was hard, so much so that Yahushua prayed 3 different times to have the cup prepared for him to pass him by. He prayed 3 different times while while he was waiting and the disciples kept falling asleep. He went to the Most High 3 different times that night, asking for the cup to be passed before him, because he knew what he was going to go through. He knew the pain and the suffering that he was going to have to go through. He knew the torture that he was about to face. And he had no reason to have to go through that. Can you imagine knowing that you are about to be put to death, put to shame? People going to mock you. People going to mistreat you. They're going to spit on you. And your body is going to be tormented and tortured for no good cause, for no good reason. And you choose to do it anyways. You allow the Most High's will to override your will, because you know that the Most High's will is going to work out in your favor. Even though for the moment you're going to go through discomfort. In the moment you're going to go through pain. You're going to suffer greatly at the hands of others. You're going to suffer for no reason. Nothing that you did will warrant that type of treatment. Like, the only thing you did was bring goodness. Only thing you did was deliver people from sicknesses and diseases and infirmities, and you showed people the right way to be saved. You showed people the right way to receive life. You showed people the way to salvation. You gave people the truth. That's all you did. And then to have these same people who you set free from their sicknesses and their diseases to turn on you and say, you know what? We want to kill them. Let's string them up. Let's beat them. Let's mistreat them. Let's put him through the worst possible torture that you could put a person through before we unalive them. Let's do that. Do you know how hard it was for Yahushua to go through that? Do you know how hard it was for his obedience to the Most High to be fulfilled? Obedience isn't easy, people. It's not easy. Sometimes the Most High is going to call us to do some things that's uncomfortable. He's going to call us to do some things where you have to make a sacrifice. Sometimes the Most High is going to call us to do some things. He's going to instruct us to do some things that we don't want to do. But what are you going to do? Are you going to heed to him? Or are you going to do it your way? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Then we're going to go to the book of Revelation, chapter 2, verses 8 through 11, right? And here we see Yahushua. And I'm going to read this one. Yahushua, from verse 8 on down to 11, he is instructing the angel. And it says, and unto the angel of the church of Smyrna, write, these things said the first and the last, which was dead and is alive, talking about Yahushua. I know your works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. That right there, that's a red flag, y'all. Y'all know I always teach y'all and talk about red flags. See, when we read these things, we need to start questioning, well, who are the Jews? Who are the people who say they are Jews, but they are not? Who? Who are the people who say they are Jews, but are not? But they are the synagogue of Satan. That should make you wonder. That should make you research. That should make you dig. That should make you start to look at people a little bit differently. A little bit differently. Because this is coming out of the mouth of Yahushua himself. Number 10, fear none of these things. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. He's telling you already, you're going to suffer, but don't fear them. Don't fear them. You're going to suffer, but don't fear what you're going to experience. Don't fear the pain. Don't fear death. Don't fear what these people can put you through, because that pain, that suffering is only going to last for a little while. And once it's over, you're going to have and you're going to receive everlasting life. So don't fear. Do not fear those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison. Some of y'all going to go to jail. He's telling them, some of y'all going to go to jail, that you may be tried. Oh, so it's a purpose for me being in jail. And the purpose is why I go in there. The Most High is trying us to see who's going to stand firm in their faith. Who's going to stand firm in what they say they believe. Because some of us can't do jail time. Some of us can't live with the thought of being locked up in this little small space. Some of us can't conceive the idea of being locked up. So you got to understand the tactics of the enemy, right? They put you in situations that's going to make you so uncomfortable that it causes you to go back on your word. It causes you to what's the word I'm thinking of? It causes you to reject the truth, because right now I'm uncomfortable. Right now I'm in pain. Right now I'm suffering. Right now I don't like being where I'm at. So therefore, whatever these people want me to do to get me up out of here, whether it's to snitch on somebody else or lie. And when I say snitch on somebody else, I'm talking about you're gonna give up all the beans, all the tea. You're gonna say everything and anything. You're gonna put everybody in who may have something to do with this situation, but they didn't get caught. You know what I'm saying? You're going to tell them where they meet up at. You're going to tell them what time they meet. You're going to tell them why they meet. You're going to tell them all the plans. And you do this because you're trying to save yourself. But we should have learned, just from watching movies. I'm bringing the world into it now. Just from watching movies, you should know nobody likes a rat. Even your enemies don't like a rat. So when you sit up here and you tell on others to try to save yourself, what they end up doing to the rat? They kill him anyway. So you're not doing yourself any favors by selling out others. Right? You're not doing yourself any favor by selling out others. Because they're going to kill you anyways. So, okay. So he says they're going to throw some of y'all in jail that they may try you. Again, that is a test. Let's see if you can stand up to the minimal punishment. And that's just being uncomfortable, locked in a small space. Okay, so then what? And you shall have tribulation 10 days. For 10 days, you're going to be mistreated. For 10 days, something is going to happen. For 10 days. Yahushua is telling them, he's giving them a time frame and everything. 10 days, you're going to go through something. Okay, what else? And he said, be thou faithful unto death. You're going to die. He's letting them know you're going to die. But be faithful unto death. Don't buckle. Don't be wishy-washy. Don't sit up here and reject the faith and reject the truth because you're uncomfortable and you're being mistreated and you're going through some type of hardship and you're being punished and they're persecuting you. Don't buckle, because they're going to kill you one way or the other. So if you're going to die regardless, you might as well die with dignity. You might as well die with some type of self-respect. You might as well die not giving up somebody else just so that they can go through what you're going through as well. Do that make sense? If you know somebody's going to kill you and they want to know information of where everybody else is hiding, why would you sell everybody else out to try to save yourself? And they're going to kill you anyway. So instead of them killing you and you only, now you done gave up the tea, and then they're going to go and get everybody else. Now you got 51 people being unalive because you couldn't hold yourself together because you thought you can give them the information and they'll let you walk. Do that make sense? Am I making sense right now? Okay, so let's keep on. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give you a crown of life. You're gonna be rewarded. You're gonna be rewarded after you die, right? This is what Yahushua is telling them. He said you're gonna be persecuted. They're gonna persecute you. You're gonna go through some stuff. They're gonna imprison you. You're gonna go through some tribulations for 10 days. They're gonna unalive you. Just stand on your word. Stand in faith. Hold on to the truth and don't reject me. Don't reject the Most High. Don't reject the laws and start doing stuff that you know is not going to benefit you. Okay, so 11. He that had an ear, let him hear what the Spirit said unto the churches. He that overcometh shall not be hurt of the second death. This is the promise that Yahushua is telling the assembly. This is what he's telling them. As long as you remain the course and you do what has been instructed in the laws, and if the Most High instructs you to do anything, go ahead on and follow the word of the Most High and accept whatever these people bring to your door to try to cause you to denounce the truth. Because they're going to do it anyways. But understand, you're going to be rewarded. You're going to be rewarded for your suffering. You're going to be rewarded for your pain. You're going to be rewarded for your discomfort. You're going to be rewarded for everything that has happened to you unjustly at the hands of man. You're going to be rewarded, and you're going to get to sit and judge them for everything they have done. Do you think it was easy for these people to hear this instruction and to know what was coming? Do you think that these people thought that this was gonna be a cakewalk? Oh, ain't nothing to it. Oh, they're just gonna punch me for 10 days and then they're gonna unalive me. Ain't nothing to it. Don't nobody want to die. Let's just be real. Don't nobody want to go through pain and suffering. Don't nobody want to consider them not living. Nobody wants to go through that. But it's a reality. It's a reality that we're all going to die. For some of us, we may not know when, but can you imagine now being notified that real soon you're gonna die? And now it's up to you to stay here and endure what's coming or try to flee and save yourself? Being obedient isn't easy, people. It's not easy. It's not easy, but it is doable. It is not easy, but it is doable. So now we're going to go to Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 6. And this is where the Most High is instructing those who live in Babylon to flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of Yahuwah's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. He's going to render to Babylon what she has been sowing. He's going to give her all of what she's been putting out. So he's instructing the people that live in Babylon to flee. Do you think this is easy? Do you think that this task is easy for the people in Babylon? It's not easy, but it's doable. It's not easy, but it's doable. It's just like when Yahushua in the previous verse that I was talking about, Revelation chapter 2, verses 8 through 11, when he had instructed the assembly in Smyrna, when he had instructed them of what was going to happen, but he said, be faithful unto death. This is the same thing. This is the same thing, except for here, the Most High is trying to keep us from being unalive. He's trying to keep us from death. It's just like when the angels went into Sodom to get Lot out. Lot and his family. He gave them an opportunity to be delivered from what is coming. But do you see how Lot and his family accepted the advance notice and the what's the word when somebody in the personal escorts? The Most High gave them personal escorts, not one, two. He gave Lot's family 2 personal escorts to take them up out of the city that he was about to destroy. And you see how Lot thanked the Most High? He thanked him by negotiating where he wanted to go. He dragged his feet. He prolonged the situation because he really didn't want to leave. So therefore, Lot ended up being his children, his daughters, ended up being equally corrupt as the people that they just left. Because the same thing that the people wanted to do to the angels is what his children did to him. His daughters did to him what the people in Sodom wanted to do to the angels, which was they deceived their dad. They got him drunk and they had sex with him because I don't know why, they believed that nobody else was living anymore. They believed nobody else was living anymore, and their last chance to procreate and create children would be with their dad. And they knew that was a no-no. So, and they knew their dad wouldn't go with it. So they got him drunk to the point where he didn't even know that he was having sex with his daughters. And both of his daughters conceived sons. And those sons today are enemies of the Israelites. So again, obedience isn't easy, because going back to Lot's uncle, Abraham, if Abraham would have obeyed the Most High 100% and left his family behind to include his nephew, then the Israelites wouldn't have two additional enemies to have to fight. Obedience isn't easy, people. But just because it's not easy don't mean it's not doable. And just because obedience isn't easy does not mean that we can't receive what the Most High, or that we won't receive the promises of the Most High. Like, there's purpose behind our obedience. Like I said, it could be to test you, to see where your heart is. Not to show the Most High necessarily, but to show you where you're lacking, where you still need to grow in at. It's different reasons. And it also could be to save you. It could be to save you in that moment. But are you going to listen? Or are you going to be like Lot? And we know Lot also lost his wife because she also wasn't being obedient, and she looked back. That's how much there was connected to that city. The wife looked back even though the angels told them not to. And then the daughters became corrupt just like the people in Sodom, and they did the same thing to their dad that the angels wanted, that the men of the city wanted to do to the angels. So do you see how obedience isn't easy, and how we find ourselves hemmed up and or blessed depending on which way and how you carry yourself when you're walking out your obedience? Are you going to walk out your obedience 100%, or are you going to do it halfway? Because I can tell you, you can be obedient halfway and it's going to still cost you. Or you could be obedient 100% and you don't have to worry about it. You'll be okay. So in order to be obedient, those living in Babylon will have to do exactly what Abraham had to do, but for different reasons. Nevertheless, the same action is required in order for us to be obedient, and that is to leave your country, leave your kindred, and for some of us, leave your daddy's house or leave your mother's house. This could be a physical thing or a spiritual thing, because a lot of us may not be living with our parents, but we have that spiritual connection to our parents, so much so that what we were taught in our parents' house is how we operate within our houses. So even though you may not physically be living in your parents' household, you run your household as your parents did. But when the Most High is instructing you to leave your family behind, he's also talking about their ways, their values, their traditions, the things that they taught you, the things that you have been groomed to do and to accept and to operate life like. You know what I'm saying? So just like for Abraham, if he would have never left his pagan daddy's house, it would have been a hindrance for him. Funny how this thing has gone full circle. See, in the beginning, when the Most High first decided to make a covenant with Abram, then turned Abraham, when he first decided to make a covenant with him, he instructed him, you got to leave your country. You got to leave your kindred. You got to leave your father's house. He told them these things. You got to leave all this stuff behind. And then you got to go to a land that I'm going to show you that you don't know where you're going yet, but you trust me. Have faith in me. I got you, is what the Most High is telling him. Follow me and my voice and my commands. You're going to be good. Not only are you going to be good, Abram, but your children and your children's children. And guess what? Not only you and your children, but the whole world, every family in this world will be blessed by your children and your seed because you're being obedient. Now here we are. We're at the end. We're at the end of this world. And now the Most High has instructed Abraham's seed to do what? The same thing he instructed Abraham to do, which is to leave the country that you know. Leave the country in which you was raised up in. Leave the country in which you call home. Abraham was 75. Some of us are younger than Abraham. Some of us are in our 40s, 50s, some early 60s, some 30s that I'm connected to on this Facebook page. And the Most High has instructed us to do the same thing he initially instructed Abraham to do. Full circle. Full circle. Do you think that if Abraham wouldn't have heeded to the Most High and decided to stay in his father's house and decided to stay where he was at, do you think that it would be us? Do you think we would be still standing? Do you think that we would exist? I don't think so. I say I don't think so, but I know not. Because it would have stopped. It would have ended with Abraham. It would have ended with Abraham. Abraham chose to listen and to leave the country. He chose to leave his family. He chose to leave his father's house. He chose to obey the Most High. However, obedience isn't easy. And we can see this because he took his nephew, Lot, with him. He took his nephew. And not only that, but obedience isn't easy to let go of everything that you are comfortable with, everything that you know, everything that you have known, everything that you have worked hard for. 75 years of Abraham living. Do you think he didn't have a home of his own, a house of his own? Do you think he didn't own stuff? Do you think he didn't have plans for his future? Do you think he didn't have some type of expectations for life? But then when the Most High came in, he disrupted all of that, and he gave him direction and purpose. He gave him a bigger purpose. And Abraham said, you know what? I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go with you. So that's how it is with us. Abraham had to leave everything behind that he had ever known and had to travel to a land he knew nothing of. Here we are being instructed to do the same. It takes more than simply believing in something. It requires action of some kind, coupled with a lot of understanding and willingness to be uncomfortable and to go through the most extreme of situations possible. So that the next time someone misapplies the saying obedience is greater than sacrifice, because they love to say that. I love how our people take a one verse or one phrase or a section of something in the scripture and create a whole doctrine of understanding on it, and then come to find out they're misapplying it. So the next time someone misapplies the saying, obedience is greater than sacrifice, understand that obedience is sacrifice, and there is no way around it. To be obedient is to sacrifice. So don't let people put that all in your brain, that obedience is greater than sacrifice. Is it written in scripture? Absolutely. Are they misapplying what it means? Absolutely. Absolutely they are. Absolutely 100%. They are misapplying what it means. Because now you have people running around here thinking that in order to be obedient, then that means I don't have to sacrifice anything. So if I have to sacrifice something, then I must not be being obedient, because I shouldn't have to sacrifice anything to be obedient. But I'm telling you, if you have not seen through these examples that I've just read, if you have not seen through these examples that I just read, all of the different times and different situations where certain people were instructed by the Most High to do something, every one of these people had to sacrifice something. Either it was their own comfort, if it was going against what they wanted themselves, if it was taking themselves and removing themselves from family, friends, loved ones, and traveling to a distant country that they had no clue where they were going. Everybody had to sacrifice. Even Yahushua himself had to sacrifice. Nobody wants to be tortured. Yahushua prayed to the Most High 3 times to have that cup removed from him. And each time he prayed, he still said, but let your will be done. Let your will be done. But he knew in order for the Most High's will to be done, he had to drink the cup. Just because he had to drink the cup don't mean he had to like drinking it. We don't have to like what the Most High is telling us to do. We don't have to agree with what the Most High is telling us to do. We don't even have to understand what the Most High is instructing us to do. Only thing we need to do is heed to his instructions and do it. That's it. That's it. And being obedient is going to cost you. You're going to sacrifice something, people. So let's get out of this mindset that obedience is greater than sacrifice. Because we got to understand that obedience is sacrifice. And there's no way around it. Y'all be blessed.